Hey everybody. All right, so I'm going to be kind of walking you through blueletterbible.org here or blb.org. Either one will work for getting to this site. I'm just going to show you guys generally how to use this and what kind of resources are open to you by using this. So we're just going to jump in here. Um, Here are verse or words we can look for and the version that we can search. Obviously, um, it's a little limited. For example, the NRSV isn't in here, but there are several good texts or good translations here to use. Especially the ESV is a fairly good second to the NRSV. But anyways, let's go and just get started, jump into this. I'm going to type in here Genesis 2. If it's going to let me, there we go. Genesis 2 or 22. Sure, we'll just jump to 22, see what happens here. All right, and it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham, and so on and so forth. So if I just come over here to tools, I have several tools to look at and to use. I'm actually just going to click tools and see what pops up here. These are all the tools that it listed. If you'll see, there's that little drop down menu, and here's all those listed out like this. Now this is the interlinear tool that they have, and this is great for doing your word study. Okay, you can see here's the Hebrew word that is being translated over here in the English. So for example, a really interesting word in this text is tempt, right? That God did tempt Abraham. What does it mean that God tempted Abraham? Maybe our English word hides something about the Hebrew one. So let's look at this. Here's the Hebrew word, nakah. And so if we click on this, the Strong's number here, then we have this whole huge resource that's open to us, right? And it gives us kind of the outline of the biblical usage. Here's all the different kind of meanings that this one word can have. And here's actually a little write-up about the word. And here's different places it appears. And then if we look here, we can see all the different places this word shows up in the Hebrew Bible. Okay, and this is going to be a lot better than just doing a search through the Bible for the word tempt, because we can see sometimes the word pops up prove, right? And assaid right here. And obviously this is the KJV, so it's gonna the language is gonna be a little stilted, but we can change this and look at different versions. This is a really great resource and something that you're going to need to use to do your word study. Okay. Look, even here it says prove 20 times, tempt 12 times. So maybe prove would be a better translation here, but maybe tempt is just as valid. Okay. This is a very great and very useful resource that I highly recommend using. Okay. So here's when you're looking up the meaning of a word, you're going to want to consider, what is the meaning of it? Where does this word come from? What other meanings does the word have? What other places in the Bible does it appear? Maybe the word, only appears one or two times before, and the author is pulling from that context and saying, hey, remember that story that I used this word in? I'm using that word again, so I'm kind of implying that I'm using the themes of that story too. Now, if I go back here, there's also cross references, right? Correlating verses. This is all really great stuff. Here, look, if I just go to Bibles, I have all these different versions of this one verse shown to me. So I can just look through all these and see how different they are. For example, let's just compare. Here's the ESV. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am. As compared to the KJV, which says, and it came to pass after these things that God did tempt Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, behold, here I am. Okay, these are very different meanings going on here, tempt and to test, right? And we're going to want to consider that when we're looking at the meaning of a text. When you're doing your word study, this is the kind of stuff you're going to want to be doing. Okay, here's a few commentaries here that you can reference. These are just online commentaries. These aren't as scholarly as I would prefer, but they're okay. Notice these are sermon notes. These are not going to be as scholarly because they're sermons. They're delivered to a Christian audience. and so on and so forth. And we want to be looking at people that are just digging into that text itself. Okay, here's a dictionary resource, so on and so forth. So I highly recommend using this resource. Okay, Blue Letter Bible. Just come here and mess around with it. Let's say if we go into Genesis 3 here, for example. Okay. Let's look up the word garden in 3:3. This is somebody's gone. Okay. If I click on the word here, okay, garden, enclosure, can be used figuratively of a bride. Is that important? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. These are questions that you'll need to ask. Just because a word has different meanings doesn't mean the author is using them all. Think of the word bear in English. If I said I bear a heavy load, just because bear also means a big fuzzy animal, it doesn't mean I'm implying, it doesn't mean I'm making use of that meaning as well. Okay. Let's say if you're doing Genesis 4 with Cain and Abel, let's see here. Fruit of the ground. What's the word for fruit here? Okay. Perai. Okay. Maybe that's just the word for fruit. Oh, it can also mean offspring, children, progeny of the womb, fruit of the womb. Okay. Maybe that means something. These are questions that you'll want to ask. So, Blue Letter Bible, please use it. It's a great resource, and it will very much help you do well on your papers.